What's going on, Canes fans? We are working through our slight technical difficulties. Paul is jumping on his phone right now, and we will get this thing cooking.
Ross, what's going on, man? We
What's
are
up, man?
live, back on the scoop. As always, we'll get things going on with Wi-Fi and any issues. We want to have as much best connection as possible. So we have to switch things up to make that happen. We'll do it. We're doing a live call-in show. Talk Canes football. Talk about anything you want to talk about Canes related, whether it's season predictions, what games are on your mind. Maybe there's a sleeper opponent that people haven't been talking about. Depth chart issues. What do you think? What to expect offensively, defensively? Anything you want to talk about Canes football related, we're going to drop the stream link on the comments section, and we'll be good to go. And we'll talk some Canes football for you guys. So we're looking forward to hearing everyone's opinions and thoughts about this upcoming season.
You want me to drop the link?
Yeah, drop in the chat so people can join and say what they want, about Canes football. Curious about, what you guys think, because obviously we talk about Canes football a lot. We bring on guests, their perspectives. We get the Brandon Merriweather show. He has his takes, and former players as well that played at the University of Miami. But we want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about the 2022 Miami Hurricanes football team?
Absolutely. It's always great to get different perspectives, man. I mean, it opens up all of our minds into thinking about different stuff about this team. It's the preseason. We feel like, of course, we can only go so far because it's the preseason, off season, or whatever. But I mean, there's still definitely questions and stuff to talk about. There's no doubt.
Like, the only thing I would say is, like, if everyone has their season predictions, I don't think anyone is wrong with their season predictions. And then at the end of the year, you can evaluate everyone's predictions, and then you can critique things. But before the season starts, if you think we're going to go 6-6, if you think we're going to go 11-1, undefeated, if you think we're going to go 9-3, they're all correct because none of the games have been played yet. Even if it doesn't sound correct, because last year, I think there were 3 commentators I don't remember the website. It was on social media that had Florida State beating Miami. Everyone thought they were crazy. Well, guess what? Florida State beat Miami in Tallahassee. The rest is history. They were correct. So, hey, that prediction was true. At the moment, last offseason, it sounded kind of crazy. I don't think a lot of people expected that, especially the blowout that Miami gave Florida State at home. We won by like 42 points. I think the final score is 52-10.
Yeah.
So any prediction, anything you guys think, hey, I think it's fair. I think anything is fair right now. So
we've seen enough wild stuff happen, dude, year after year after year, to be able. We don't just have to assume that it'll happen. Eventually, throughout one of these games, we're going to see some wild stuff go down. So it's always a sight when Miami has the ball bouncing the wrong way when we're trying to get it to bounce our way. That's been an issue, and that's just the football gods just not being fair. That's the football gods, just kind of working against us. But, man, I mean, it's now, Paul. It's the time, dude. Like, literally, like they're saying, it's right now, dude. Cristobal, this staff, this is it, man.
By the way, I see there was a comment, Canes 1989. Yeah. Is specific program to join. No. All you need is a mobile iPhone or a PC, a computer. I think those 2 can get you into the StreamYard link.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't have to show your face. You can your camera can be locked. Have your mic on and talk Canes football. We'll be good to go. Tonight's the live call-in show. And if it's, people like it, we'll keep it going. Love to talk Canes football with you guys and hear your perspectives on the upcoming season. I know Los Allen, 5-star offensive lineman, Ross. You've been talking to him a lot. He's visiting until the 10th, he told you?
Yeah, he's there right now, and he's in Miami till the 10th.
So, question, Ross. I feel like Texas A&M is like making a lot of noise in recruitment for whatever reason. Where a lot of recruits like Texas A&M. Is Texas A&M a factor in a Los Allen's recruitment?
I mean, they're a factor just for the simple fact that their status is pretty high right now in the recruiting scene. I mean, it just is. It's just the way it goes. The vibes, the tendencies, all that stuff. Teams coming in and out of that. Being top teams for recruiting and then falling off. Jimbo now has got them escalating upwards, and it's very, very, very noticeable. It's hard for me to say that any kid would be out if they're actually prioritizing them. You know what I'm saying? It'd be hard for me to say that, but I don't think they're his top school.
It's interesting because Kevin Sumlin, Coach Sumlin, during his time at Texas A&M, I think he had a much better record, it seemed like, against ranked opponents. Now they didn't play in the SEC, but he had just comparing records, he had a much better success during the time span compared to Jimbo Fisher. It's interesting. Now, to be fair, I mean, Texas A&M wasn't in the SEC, which is a different animal, but, we'll see. Let's see what Jimbo has against Miami. I believe it's week 3 we play them. Could be wrong on that, but
we play them first week.
No, we don't play Texas A&M first week. We don't.
It's not first week?
No, it's like week 3, week 4.
Oh, we get the easier opponents first.
Yep. We have Southern Mississippi.
Good.
I want to say there's someone else. I can look it up.
It's like Kent State or something.
There's someone else. Southern Mississippi is one, and someone else. I don't want to say like a random name, but it'll be interesting how we pair up against Texas A&M. I think I'm more confident about that game than Clemson.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it just because of familiarity that Clemson kind of knows our players and knows what we're up to?
The thing about Clemson is that it's the second to last game of the season, meaning like it could be a good thing or a bad thing, injury-wise. We're also playing in Death Valley. It's a tough place to win there. It's a very tough place. It's going to be a dogfight in Clemson, or, they're going to win by like 2 touchdowns or whatever it is. I mean, it's the 11th game of the season. It's not early on the schedule, and I don't think we might not be as healthy as we are against Texas A&M, or maybe the opposite happens. But I think Clemson, if I had to choose one, I think we beat Texas A&M, we lose to Clemson. I don't think we take both.
It's tough to take both, especially a year one type of thing. But at the same time, sometimes you can sneak up on these guys year one, Paul. If Cristobal and staff have actually decided to flip the script a little bit and decide to really add new stuff, especially with a guy like Gaddis coming as an OC, really add new dimensions that hasn't been seen before from a Cristobal team, and especially a Cristobal offense, maybe we can catch some guys off guard.
Yeah. And, it's interesting, too. Everyone's talking about Clemson. NC State, they're making a lot of noise this offseason. A lot of people think they can take the Atlantic. I think that's a great scenario for Miami. If Miami doesn't win the Coastal, guys, this is not a good season. You have to win the Coastal. I understand it's Mario's first year, but there's nobody else in the Coastal. There really isn't. Pittsburgh's always going to be decent. North Carolina with Mac Brown, I think that's done. There really isn't a lot of teams out there. It's really Miami on themselves if they don't win the Coastal this season. You have the quarterback. You have the weapons offensively. You have a strong running back room. Your head coach oversees the offensive line with a very good offensive line coach with Coach Marable. We brought in a ton of interior defensive linemen from the portal, veteran players. Safeties, that's going to be fine, that position group.
Yeah.
Cornerback play, it's not bad. It's solid. It is a solid group.
It should improve.
Veteran with a lot of experience. Linebacker play is a question mark. Wide receiver play, to me, I think we have some weapons. We just don't have a deep ball threat yet. We did drop a lot of passes in the spring game. We got to get over that.
Yeah.
But, I think we have a strong team.
The hope is there. We can see it. And the hope that I really get from it, Paul, is that it's not just the players we're seeing. It's the coaches that we've added behind them that are really going to show development and really be beasts on the recruiting trail. That's what I'm really, really excited about. I believe in this staff. Like, I truly believe that these guys are going to get our players right, and we'll actually see development at Miami for the first time in a long time.
11 minutes in. Join the link in the chat, guys, if you want to come on, talk some Canes football. This is your opportunity, guys, to talk some Canes football, hear your perspective. Whatever you want to talk about Canes football related, would love to hear you guys. We want to see if this could be a weekly thing. Obviously, we need interaction. We need people who are interested and want to talk Canes football. We do these shows on the fly, but if, you guys want to talk Canes football, now's your chance. We'd be more than happy to have you on the scoop. I know we are working on some things to get you through the off season as well.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the amount of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and as you guys are seeing right now, me and Paul being a little bit quiet because we are both operating behind the scenes at the same time, which is kind of rare. So I apologize about that. It's my fault. But yeah, I mean, it's so much positivity going on, Paul. Like, that's what I see. I see so much positivity going forward, even in the positions that we're weak at. I still have hope that we'll get it right eventually because, like I said, I trust the staff. And when you ultimately trust the staff, you really trust that they're going to develop the players. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, we've got a couple guys at linebacker that could possibly be pretty damn good. I'm not sure how we're going to use Chase Smith fully yet, but having guys like that on the field who are superior athletes running sideline to sideline, I'd love to see it.
Do you think Chase Smith ends up being a linebacker this year?
I think if anything, like a hybrid,
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm curious who we roll out at linebacker play, and I don't know. I don't have that answer for you. I don't think a lot of people know either.
Yeah, I'm getting the link to our guest here right now, Paul.
Perfect.
All righty, he's got the link here.
Awesome.
Yeah, this could be unique to get a chance to talk with this guy, for the simple fact that he's kind of going through something that's not typical in the high school football world,
Not at all. Not at all.
And when you got a guy like him who praises Cristobal, and he tells me that Cristobal is the guy for Miami. He tells me that it's the person that Cristobal is what makes him the guy for Miami. It's in his core. It's who he is. Yep. It's not just a facade. It's not just words on paper. It's not just a script. It's him 24/7. He's the same dude everywhere he goes, no matter what.
Yeah, we'll get the Wi-Fi figured out, connection by Sunday, so I wouldn't worry about that, or Monday. So
yeah, the Wi-Fi's been it's been a little difficult, but this will get all figured out. Yeah, and hopefully here we'll get our guest on soon. All right, we got him backstage right now, Paul.
Awesome. Let's bring in Coach Bearfield.
What's up, guys?
What is up, Coach? How you doing?
I hadn't been ignoring you guys. I'm on the road. I'm in Baton Rouge right now. I'm headed to the San Angelo Coaches Clinic. I go there every year I can. The guy who puts it on actually says if I can pay for my travel, he's got my hotel and food while I'm there. So I've been ignoring you. I've just been driving.
It's all good, man. It's all good. I'm glad that we got a chance to get you to sit down for a minute and talk to you.
Good to be here, man. You guys doing all right?
Yes.
Doing great. Doing great, Coach. How have you been? I know it's been a roller coaster ride for you past few months. You feel free if you want to share, about what's been going on,
Yeah.
during your time at Lake Gibson and the great things you're on to now that you're planning for moving forward.
Yeah. Our admin, for whatever reason it was, there wasn't really a justifiable one, if I could say so, in my biased opinion. Decided to move on from me. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to really anybody who heard the news. But at the end of the day, I think they knew that I wasn't a career high school guy, and they knew a guy that is a career high school guy, and this was the time to go get him. And it's not the toughest thing I've been through, and it really kind of freed me up to go and get back on the chase of where I knew I would eventually get back to anyway. And so I don't have anything but respect for the admin there, even through all this. And, they handled it with class, and we like mature adults, and there was no, the hardest thing about it, honestly, is it's hard to convince people there's not more to it. You know what I mean? And so I don't try to convince people. I just, if they say it, they say it, and that's that. But so I'm on the job hunt, and I think what makes this one more difficult than any is the IAWP rule, number one, and then number two, I'm not gonna take a job that I know I'm only gonna be there 1 year. You know what I mean? I've done it in the past when I was younger, and I'm tired of bouncing around. Like I want to get set in a place, and so I'm being very picky with it and letting God handle it and working my faith out a little bit.
Sounds great, Coach. Sounds great. So, I mean, what trajectory do you want to be on personally right now? What's the path for Keith Bearfield right now?
That's a difficult question. Like if you asked me a year and 2 months ago when I first stepped foot on Lake Gibson's campus, I wouldn't have said going from University of Louisiana under Coach Napier to high school offensive coordinator was the right path. But like I said, I'm a man of faith, and I felt like that's what I was being led to do. I didn't know why. I fought it as much as I could, and then now I look back, and this past year rivals how much I've learned in 1 year with the year I was at Louisiana on defense for the only time in my career under Napier, under Patrick Toney, right? And it's a different learning, like learning to be a head coach, but I think there's so much that I'm going to take away from this past year that's only going to help me in ways that I don't know how else you can get that kind of knowledge. So all that to say, I have an ideal, path that I can think up, right? Like it'd be sweet if Bill Belichick called me tomorrow, right? Like that'd be awesome. But I think that's eventually that type of level is what I'm wanting to go to, Power 5 college head coach one day. I could see myself in the NFL. I could see myself never going to the NFL, but my goal has always been to do football at the highest level, be the best competing against the best. And that's what I'm making every decision based off of.
Hey, Coach Bearfield, I know you got to spend time with Mario, Coach Cristobal.
Yeah.
You're able to speak with him. I mean, walk us through kind of how did, I know we understand we had back on the show, you developed a relationship with Coach Cristobal.
Yeah.
You really looked up to him. You thought, it was a great relationship you had with him, both of you guys coaching high school level and college level. Did he reach out to you to speak with him after, it ended at Lake Gibson for you? How did that go with Coach Cristobal and just meeting him, and how did everything kind of play out?
Yeah, well, when you're the head coach at Lake Gibson with the players we had there, right? Every college coach in the country is your best friend all of a sudden, right? Guys I've been trying to get a hold of for years, they're calling me and blowing my phone up. And, kind of the role I took on for our guys as they got recruited was try to pick out what's real and what's not, like what they can trust and what they can't. And I always felt from the get-go that Coach Cristobal was a genuine person. He was authentic. When he said something, he meant it. And, you know, sometimes you might be wrong in your judgment on those things here and there. Let something cloud your judgment. But when everything went down at Lake Gibson, suddenly my phone went silent, right? Like after everybody, called me to see what really happened, right? All of a sudden, like my phone died down. And first thing that day, Cristobal called me. He was probably more upset than I was, right? Like I almost had to calm him down. Like, we'll get through this, coach. I just breathe, right? And I thought that was really cool of him. But the thing that stands out the most is, about a week and a half goes by, and now you're starting to kind of feel the difference in how your life is, and getting that anxiety of what's next, and kind of beside yourself. With no prompting, he reaches back out just to make sure I'm still doing okay, right? And he would never brag about this or ask me to talk about this, but that's probably like the moment, other than close family, that I was like, all right, that guy's got my back, right? And he was actively trying to help me, find ideas, figure things out, and I planned to go down there and hang out with him at some point while I was the head coach there, and he made sure that I just didn't change those plans, right? We want to make sure I still came down, and we changed the day I came down so that he wouldn't be busy running around. The other coaches wouldn't be all over the place, recruits on campus. And I got down there, and right when the full-timers, other than the head coach, could go out and start recruiting, right? And so the office was not completely empty, but it was slower than usual. And the guy takes me out to dinner in downtown Coral Gables, and we chat, we talk about life, and he speaks into my life, encourages me. And, the whole time I'm sitting there looking at him thinking, this is the freaking head coach of Miami, taking time out of his day where he could just go home to his family to take me out to dinner. And he's the type of guy that I hope I am when I get to that level, right? So much can take you off that path, or you get into yourself and your ego takes over. I saw the type of person I want to be when I reach that level that he has. So I can't say enough about him, right? I know Miami's got the right guy in the right spot. That's where his heart is. And with all this NIL and transfer portal, you're going to see it's not who has the most money that will win in the long run. It's the place that has the best culture, right? Best relationships. And that's what's going to keep a team together through the money, right? And eventually they'll rise to the top, and that recipe is in the making right now in Miami. So really encouraged with what y'all have down there.
We've talked before about Cristobal behind the scenes, and one of the things you mentioned to me is simply just the person that he is. I mean, not just Coach Cristobal, but Mario Cristobal, the person, and the
Right.
genuine heart that he has for going
Right.
forward. And you told me how big of a factor that is going into the future for the football team. Why do you believe that's such a big factor for us as a football team going forward?
Yeah, I grew up a coach's kid, right? So I've been in offices my entire life. Matter of fact, I say I get paid to relive my childhood now. And when I decided to become a coach, I started reading biographies of coaches. And too often they let the game and success take over, and it's all about winning. They treat their players like cattle, right? They ignore their family. And I think especially in this day and age when, you can't be the hard-nosed, rub some dirt on it guy anymore all the time. When people know you care, they want to be around you. They want to stay there. It's not going to be, I always say, how you get them there is how you keep them there, right? So if you get them there by giving them $1 million, next year you need 2, right? And so if the culture gets you there, then it'll keep you there, and it has to start at the very top, and he sets the tone. And another lesson my dad taught me when I got into coaching was people recognize fake easy, right? It's almost an instinct. So when you see too often the high level coaches become used car salesmen, and you know they don't really care about the other person, they care about their paycheck. And you never get that feeling with coach. So I think eventually that catches on, and it's a snowball effect.
We talking about the kind of guy he is now, flipping it over to the coach that he is. You've been around all different kind of coaches who experience different levels of success at different levels. And I'm curious, a guy like Mario, how fast do you think he could turn a program around now that he's got the guys that he's got? Like, what would be your opinion? 2 years, 1, 3, what do you think a guy like Mario could do for Miami right away?
Yeah, I think an important part of that question is it's not going to boil down to one guy, right? The most important piece of the puzzle is the players, right? Not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and Joes. But he's in the right geographical area for recruiting, and I think the realistic expectation is give him a full recruiting 4-year cycle to where it's all his guys, his way. He's recruiting for his systems and his way of doing things on campus, and then the program have taken root and becomes nature to everybody there. I don't want to handcuff him to an exact number, but I think after that transition is complete, you can only expect good things. I mean, you saw that at Oregon, right? And I think the most impressive thing he did at Oregon is you saw it go from the Chip Kelly gimmicky spread offense to all of a sudden they were hard-nosed dudes coming at your face. And that's how I envision Coach Cristobal football, and he does it. He put this personality into the team, and you can see it play out on Saturdays. So, as a matter of fact, when I first met Coach Cristobal, I was intimidated because of his style of football. When I realized he was lighthearted and funny, I was pretty shocked by it.
Coach Bearfield, I'm curious because I know you spent a good amount of time with Coach Napier as well. How is Coach Napier? Because he's in a similar situation as Coach Cristobal. First year at Florida in the same state. You spent with Coach Napier as well. I mean, are there similarities in the intensity they bring to their football program, or maybe 2 different philosophies?
I think it's 2 different philosophies. It's definitely 2 different people, right? But I think the common thread between the 2 of them is how much they value relationships, right? I always said when I got to Louisiana, the big fear of coaches who've never been to that level is too business-like, right? There's no real relationship. Well, I answer that now by saying it is a business at that level, but Coach Napier made relationships his business model, if that makes sense. And I think the biggest difference in the 2 is I am pretty sure that Napier has the next 365 days planned out to every 15 minutes right now, what he's doing every 15 minutes. It was incredible to watch him operate that style. I tried to emulate it as best I could, but that's a lot of planning for just one day. So I think Coach Cristobal has this plan, and he's well thought out, but I see a lot of similarities in how they approach the program, and the thing that makes them successful is they are themselves, right? They're not trying to be Nick Saban or Dabo Swinney. They're, Coach Cristobal and Coach Napier, right?
So, Coach, you were in Coral Gables, Mario Cristobal. You're in Baton Rouge right now.
Yeah.
You might get a laugh about this. There was actually a report on Twitter that said you were going to go to Florida.
Hey, funny story. The day after everything went down, I had realtors reaching out to me in Gainesville.
Really?
Yeah, I did. It was funny.
So, realtors reaching out to you in Gainesville. I mean, what's the next move for you? I mean, your coaching career path.
Yeah, it's difficult to say right now. This was the worst time to be suddenly jobless, right? Most of the staffs have been completed or near completion, and I would love to get on as an analyst or QC somewhere, and somewhere big where I can learn from and start taking the right career steps, like a Miami. But I understand that, this isn't a great time for them either. So I'm kind of keeping my ears open, getting around and, just being available and seeing what is out there. So I know that I'm not going to just go be somewhere that I don't want to be, right? Like, there are very few high school jobs I would go to right now unless I knew the people there, if that makes sense. So every career decision I've made personally has been more on the side, where am I going to learn the most from? What's going to get me to where I'm going the fastest? And it's never been who pays more, right? I've taken volunteer jobs more than twice, right? But I knew it was a good resume builder, it was a good experience, and it was going to keep me in the door, right? And so that's what I'm kind of looking for, something that I can kind of latch on to. But, I wish I could tell you, but you never know what's going to open up. So, and it's a wild business. Any day something magical is going to happen or something terrible. So,
Coach, I have a it's more just a general question, and it has to do with recruiting and you being a head coach and experiencing and seeing what it's like. I recently spoke with a coach who had an idea about making offers into tiers, like 1 tier, 2 tier, 3 tier, as far as being committable offers, because we see so many times kids get offers, but are they committable offers? And it's a battle that kids fight with all the time. I talk with plenty of them. They don't know if their offer's committable or not. He has this tier system where it would mean, if you have a tier 1 offer, it's bona fide committable. Maybe a number 2 is based off development, and a number 3 is a wait and see. But do you think something like that could be beneficial?
Personally, I don't. I think the more layers you have, the more confusion you get. Personally, I think coaches shouldn't use that offer word so easily with these kids. It's what they want to hear, and they know that. The first time I heard about a non-committable offer, I laughed, right? I think in an ideal world, when a coach says you're offered, that's binding. That should be something binding at that moment, right? He can retract it if you don't commit right away. But if he offers, you can commit, and that's it. So, but you're not going to get that. That's not reality. And some coaches go into Polk County and offer 300 kids just to get on Twitter, right? And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but you know, if there's some benefit to it. I can see, but I always when I recruited, I wanted when I said you're offered to mean something, right?
Yeah.
Not be charity. And so when I told a kid he was offered, he knew exactly what that meant, and they had a place in our program. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying: a genuine person in this business, right? That's why they stand out so well. Is when you finally see that type of person, like a Cristobal, like a Napier. It's a breath of fresh air that no NIL can replace.
How do you make it bluntly clear to a player when they're being approached, or as coaches are approaching them with an offer that is fully committable right away? I mean, on the spot. How do you bluntly get that expression out to those players?
Well, I think when you get to the moment when you're offering, you should, in some capacity, have a little bit of a relationship, right? And so, if I'm meeting you for the first time and I say you're offered, and then I walk out, you can't hold much weight on that. I think also if you have a good relationship with the high school coach, I think some of the moments where players knew who to trust, who not to trust, were moments when the coaches left my office, right? I would tell the kid, hey, he means that, right? You commit, you're going. Or let me talk to him a little more and see what the actual deal is. And so there's no quick answer to that. It's reputation, it's integrity, and the more you do it, the more you get known as that person. I knew a coach who said Napier was the best recruiter he'd seen when he was at Alabama, because he'd walk in and always know exactly who we wanted to see and everything about him and what they talked about last time and all that. And I think all those little things add up, and you can tell the difference between those guys and the guys who walk in and say, all right, who do you have? And with no plan, right? It all exists together for a reason.
I always find recruiting funny, Coach Bearfield, because it's changed so much from 10 years ago, from 20 years ago. It's a different animal now, and I think it's just going to get crazier and crazier moving forward. Is there a challenge that maybe high school football coaches all have something in common that they speak about and say, we'd like to get this fixed, or just some way around it in regards to recruiting? And Ross even mentioned it, having an offer. Is that even a formal offer, or is it just being offered and it's not really committable? Maybe that's an example. Is there something, if you could change recruiting in one way, if you were the head of NCAA, or, just had a say in recruiting, what would you change, that's challenging right now for high school football coaches and football players in high school?
I think that offer word is my biggest pet peeve in recruiting. The thing I always hated with recruiting is the used car salesman, and sometimes it's hard to know what to trust. And as a high school coach, you're an agent for your player, and if you tell him he should do that, and it turns out that you were being lied to, you feel a tremendous amount of guilt, and like you might have ruined that kid's life or something. So I think getting rid of the gray area, right? Like, we have, what is it, the different periods of recruiting where you can go evaluate, but you can't talk. My campus, not yours. Just either yes or no. Can we talk this month or no? And I think there should be more dead period in it. These kids get no break from it, right? Especially when you talk about like Cormanis of the world, the day September 1st this past year, the first day coaches could directly call him and text him on his phone ran out of data by the time he got to school that morning because so many people were texting him. I couldn't get through to him. Nobody could. And that's nonstop for him. If you look at his phone right now, I can guarantee you that little number on the corner of the text message app, unread messages, is over 1,000. I can guarantee you right now, if you looked at it. Like, he doesn't even look anymore. Like, if I text him, if his girlfriend texts him, mom, he just feels it vibrate and doesn't even look at it half the time. So I think the dead periods give coaches time to rest and the prospects time to sit back and let everything settle a little bit, and instead of just being in the whirlwind of taking pictures, putting on uniforms, right, and all that. So I think the more we get to that, the better and the more healthy it'll be for everybody.
I got one more question, then I'll toss it over to Ross. The transfer portal is fairly new in college football. There's kind of a discussion that it's eliminating high school football players from finding a spot on a college football team. Do you agree with that statement that people are saying the transfer portal is affecting high school football players and finding a college football program?
I do, especially at the quarterback position. Is the biggest area where that is true, very true. As a matter of fact, I talked to multiple coaches this past year who said there's no reason we should take a high school quarterback. Like, if we're looking for a viable quarterback to come in, we're going to hit the portal, right? And that was a little disheartening to hear, just because that's something I never thought about before. And I'm sure in other situations, other positions, it happens too. But coaches were blatantly saying, like, we're not going to take a high school quarterback for a few years, even. Like, they should keep hitting the portal. So, yeah, it is happening to some extent. When I get back into college football, I'm going to be more wary of the portal kids, if that makes sense. Like, why are you transferring? Because you didn't get your way? Or is it a Jalen Hurts situation where it's the right decision, a thought out decision, a mature decision, or did you not get enough likes on Instagram or something? So, or did your teammates not like you, right? And my biggest trick in recruiting situations like that is, number one, if you talk to somebody long enough, they'll tell you who they are. But number two, if he's talking bad about his coaches to me, how you talk about people or how you talk about them is how you'll talk about me later on, right? And so it kind of reveals who they are. So I think the portal is a tricky situation, and if you rely on it too much, it'll burn you, right? Everybody's like I'll tell you, the biggest thing it's going to do is turning D2 and smaller level schools into JUCO. Is what now. Like, kids aren't going there for 4 years in their mind anyway.
You were there, kind of at the beginning of this whole NIL experience that kids are going to have to go through. And, let's just say Cormani example number one. Why not?
Yeah.
Is there any way these high school kids can get help with NIL advice while they're still in high school?
Jeez. I think there is a way, but the trick is getting them to accept the help, right? So
I got you. Yeah.
I think about Cormani. I love Cormani and his mom and his family, and they don't come from very much. How am I gonna tell them to like don't take this, don't like buy into that? Like, Cormani's got a shot to change the trajectory of his entire family's lives, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking long run of, NFL money later on and the generational type wealth for him, as opposed to, sliding something under the table now, right? But I always felt trouble trying to tell him not to because it doesn't come from much, right? Like, how do you tell a kid no? Like, don't do that. And so, another thing that happens too is when you blow up like Cormani, suddenly you find people who are related to you that you've never heard of, right?
Yeah.
And people all of a sudden are financial experts, and everybody's trying to get your ear. Good luck teaching a 16, 17-year-old who to listen to, who not to, how to say no to people, right? Like, this person you trusted all your life, he might not have the right intentions. How do you tell him that? I don't know him, but I'm trying to tell him, like, look out. So it's a tricky situation. And for me, I always try to do my best and give sound advice and not be overbearing with it, as in almost let him come talk to me before I said anything, or unless it got out of hand. So, which it rarely did. Just people are grabbing at you when they see those dollar signs.
You know what that sounds like to me, Coach? Exactly, is the stories you hear about people who've won the lotto. When all of a sudden, family and people they never knew of come out of the woodwork, say, cousin, it's me, from the 5 different, generations down or whatever. I mean, it's that's what it sounds like to me.
It breaks your heart too, because you know that they're just going to burn him if they get the chance to. And I think not just myself, but other coaches on my staff, the thing we always try to tell the kids were, listen to the people who don't benefit from your decision either way. Like, it didn't make a difference to me if Cormani went to Florida, Bama, Miami, right? And so, like, I didn't get anything out of it. So, like, my advice and other coaches' advice on the staff, like, that's who you need to listen to, not the alum who went to that school and has, a lot of money riding on each game. So, people are selfish by nature and are looking out for themselves and hustling around, and it's not always easy to tell who's who.
Well, the final note I want to leave you on here, and let's hope it's we leave it on a positive one here. What's going to be the Canes record this year? What do you think?
Who's their out of conference schedule?
Texas A&M, and then some cupcakes.
You got 11 games total?
12.
12.
12. God. I've never been a big predictor. What was the record last year?
Ugh.
Was
wow.
that
I kind of want to forget about last year. I think it was
I'll tell you this.
7 wins, I think, last year.
I would expect a convincing winning record, if that's a good answer for you. I'm not going to say they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think there's a process to it, and I'm not there and seeing it every day, but looking in Coach Cristobal's eyes and hearing him talk about how spring went and how the guys are, adjusting to his way of doing things, I left Miami, wishing I was part of the team, right? Like it felt really, really encouraging, and things were already on a high trajectory. Not just buildings and what's going to be built there, but how the team was working and working hard and together already. So Cristobal was in love with how spring went this year. So
That's it for me, Paul.
Coach Bearfield, it really is a pleasure again to have you back on the scoop, man. Anytime you want to come on, you see the Canes play on TV, you love what you see after a game. We'd love to hear your thoughts and just breakdown of the game, and
yeah,
or just
man,
talk football in general. We'd love to have you back on.
I get all the game film from all those games, so I've been breaking down Oregon from last year, right? And so, let's speak it together that next time I'm on here, a wild job opportunity came my way, and we're celebrating what's happened since now. So
Sounds good to me, man.
Awesome, Coach Bearfield. Hey, we can't wait for your next opportunity to come up, and man, we'll be rooting for you. No matter, even if it's Florida State, we'll still root for you.
even if it's Florida State. If I had my choice, it'd be Miami, and if not this year, I'm the type that keeps knocking on the door till you arrest me. So
We'd love
to have you here, man. We'd love to have a guy like you at Miami with your heart and passion towards football, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Coach Bearfield. Take care.
See y'all.
All right. That was Coach Bearfield, former coach at Lake Gibson Senior High School. Spent time with Mario Cristobal down in Coral Gables. Has a great relationship with Billy Napier. Some say he was going to take the Florida job as well, to a specific role they wanted to add him to. He already had realtors calling him out of Gainesville once they heard that report on social media, but he definitely knows his stuff. He was on Billy Napier's staff at Louisiana, by the way. So he has a tremendous resume. He was the head coach for Cormani McLean, the best cornerback in the class of 2023.
He was getting things pointed in the right direction in a hurry there. And it's a shame on how it all had to go down, because you hate that for the kids, not just for the coach, right? You hate it for the kids, because the kids are experiencing something good as well. And that's what Coach Bearfield, that's the type of coach he is. He gives everything he can to his kids. He turned into a raisin and let the rest of the kids be grapes, basically. He would sit there on the sidelines and let anything happen to him and let those guys ride out and have the greatest experience possible. And that I admire him for that. You can tell that he is a player's first coach, and that he truly cares. And I can see why he admires a guy like Mario, because he's got a little bit of Mario in him too.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. I think it was a lot of great content. I know it was supposed to be a live call-in show and turned into a Coach Bearfield show, but I think it was a great all-around show and a little insight of what Mario Cristobal's vision is and who he is as a person, under the direction, guiding the University of Miami football program for this upcoming season. I cannot wait to get fall football going. I really cannot wait, because this offseason, you can only talk so much about Alonzo Highsmith, right?
Hey, thankfully we have him, though,
Yes, I am happy. I keep forgetting we have Charlie Strong too, Coach Kevin Smith, Coach Adai from Georgia. I keep forgetting Josh Gaddis. We got all these great players. Jason Taylor's on the staff. Forgot about him too.
Ed Reed still lingering around. Come on, man.
I didn't know that. No, I'm kidding. I knew. But no, appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Hope you enjoyed the content. And always, all about the U. Go Canes.
Go Canes.